Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Wrench Restorations. I'm Steve, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on Sweaty Betty. So I've had this tractor about 6 years now, and you're going to kill me when I tell you this. I've neglected all the maintenance on this. I've never changed the oil or the filters or the transmission fluid or the differentials or anything except for when I first got it. So over the last 6 years, this poor girl's been sitting neglected fluid wise. So today we're going to pull it in the garage and take care of the maintenance I've been neglecting. So the first thing I'm going to do today before it starts raining out is drain and flush the coolant system. Knock on wood, the radiator is great on this. I don't have any leaks. There's no leaks at all in this tractor. Fuel, oil, transmission, coolant, nothing. Which is one of the reasons I'm able to keep it parked in my driveway at home. So anyway, we're going to drain the coolant out, and then I'll get the hose and basically just want to kind of flush it out, get any kind of sediment out or whatever. You know, I don't have any overheating issues, but my temp gauge doesn't work. And sometimes when I plow and I'm under heavy load for long periods of time, you can start to see some steam coming out of the breather cap, which is fine, but needs a good flush. It's been a few years. Make sure we get any sediment out and get it ready for plow day. We've got a couple plow days coming up. I think the first one I'm going to go to this year is, in fact, the day you're watching this, on Saturday, I want to say it is March 23rd, I will be up on the eastern shore of Virginia with the Peninsula Tractor Organization at their annual plow day. So that's going to be my first plow day for 2026, and I just want to make sure Sweaty Betty is ready. So let's start with the coolant flush and we'll go from there. If I think of it, I'll put the video link above here, but I did a retro restoration story about Sweaty Betty and where it came from and how I put it together and all that. And one of the items I had in here was this coolant pipe that goes from basically the inlet to the engine, and it's the bottom discharge from the radiator, and this pipe was missing and rotted out. So this is a piece of tailpipe that I got from AutoZone, and I kind of painted it with green and brown to match the patina of the rest of the tractor. So it's a new pipe, just painted. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how well this held up. I'm not even going to attempt to mess with the radiator drain on this because I don't want to break it or have it start leaking. So I'm just going to take this hose off from here and we'll drain the coolant. And then I may take it off from this end as well, so when I put the hose in, we can just get a good flush. That's why I left the nose out of the garage. I got a 4-degree incline on my driveway, and we'll just let everything flush and wash out. Fill it with new antifreeze, coolant's good to go. I never seem to have good luck with flat tip bits and electric drills. I guess it would help if I loosen it. They always seem to slip off like that. The Phillips works so much better. That ain't too bad. See how much of a mess we can make. See what I'm saying? They always seem to walk out. Does anybody else have that problem? Maybe it's just me. Alright, hose clamps off. I might need to loosen the whole thing. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we're going to make a good mess today. Maybe I'll just do this for a while. Let most of it drain out. Open up my cap. It's a little bit rusty colored, not too bad though. Alright, I'll finish draining this and get y'all back. So here you can kind of see an example of what I was talking about. You get that kind of sludge buildup in the bottom there, and it ends up in the bottom of your radiator, the bottom of the block. So we'll get all that kind of cleaned out today. Yummy, yummy. Alright, now that the coolant's drained out, I got the opening from the radiator coming out towards the rear and the opening from the block towards the front. So I'm just going to basically flush through the radiator, and you're going to see all the junk and deposits flow freely. Probably should have done this a few other years ago. And just kind of move your hose around. I might even get to the point where I block this off and fill the radiator up and let it drain naturally. That'll ensure it gets any debris that are on the internal parts and pieces. And then we'll shoot up into the radiator, up into the block, and try to get this thing flushed as best we can. You can see when I move the hose around at a different angle, you start to change color. Cleaning out pieces of mist. Kind of position this to shoot up inside the block. Oh yeah, nasty. I hope I'm not going to foreshadow anything, but be wary as you flush out sediment and debris that may have settled to the bottom of your radiator that may have been actually covering up a leak. So by doing this, you could end up having a leak afterwards, but it's kind of the risk I'm willing to take because it needs to be clean and flushed. You can see there was a lot of sludge in there, and that really just prevents good cooling. Now if you wanted, you could take the hood off and remove the hose on the upper part of the engine and blow down through the block. I did that when I first got it, and I really just am not even that worried about it. Had some sludge in there, but it's not too bad, so do a couple more flushes and close her up. One of the things, like I said, you can kind of block this drain and let the radiator fill, and then just kind of let it drain out on its own, and you'll probably see a lot more sludge come out. Here it's starting to come out the block now, so I know the radiator's full. So I'm getting a flush from the top of the radiator in. So basically by blocking the bottom, fills the radiator, forces it through the top neck of the engine, through the block, and out of this outlet here. So doing good, doing good. Crystal clear, I think we're good. Plus I made a mess of the garage. Me personally, I like to make sure everything is nice and dry before I start filling it with coolant, because once you start filling it, if you feel anything wet, you know you got a leak. You can tighten these clamps up or address whatever it is. If it's still all wet from having water and coolant all over it, you might not know that you got an active leak until you've already dumped 4 gallons of coolant in here, and now you're just wasting a lot of money. As always, when doing any kind of maintenance on your particular tractor or vehicle, make sure you refer to the owner's manual or service manuals. So you can see I have the complete M series tractor service manual. That's for the M, MT, and MC. I've also got an original MT operator's manual. I've got the original MT sales brochure. I love old literature. I know I've said this in many other videos. This is the operator's manual for the M1A and M2A single or plow on the bottom, on the back. I can't even talk today. Mine was the M2A. It used to be a 2 bottom, and I broke it down to a 1 bottom, so now it's the M1A. This has all your parts and information in there. And then there's actually another supplemental service manual for carburetors for these. So make sure you check with your manuals as far as procedures and amounts and levels. My video is just kind of general info. So as far as the cooling system, it says it takes 3.5 gallons. We'll see. I've got 3 gallons ready to go. It'll probably fill before that. Just know that after you start and run the machine, it'll have air bubbles that need to get out, and you may have to add more to it. Now, these John Deere M series tractors don't have a water pump. The water pumps didn't come out until the 420 series, so the M and the 40s were just basically what they call a thermosiphon system. So as the coolant that's sitting inside the block heats up, natural physics is for that warmer water to float to the top and flow into the radiator. Once it gets into the radiator, the fan and the air across the cooling fins cool the coolant down, which brings it to the bottom and pushes it back into the block and up the top. So it basically starts this cycle of fluid on its own without a pump. It's actually pretty cool, and it works pretty good, surprisingly. So let's go ahead and get this radiator filled up so we can get it back into the garage and start on the oil. So when it comes to coolant for these tractors, I get this stuff at AutoZone. It's the 50/50 ready to use. It's the green stuff. Because this doesn't have a water pump, you don't want to get the concentrated coolant and try to mix the coolant in the water in the system, because it's just not going to mix well, and that thermosiphon system won't work very efficiently. So make sure you get the 50/50 premix ready to use. So I'll put about a half a gallon in here, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to check my fittings down here where we took it apart to see if anything's leaking. Obviously the coolant's going to go to the bottom of the radiator, and it's going to fill this pipe first. So you just want to check all those joints and flanges, see if you see anything wet. Everything's dry. I'll go ahead and fill this again, check it one more time, and then eventually, once I do these other fluids, I'll drive it around and get it up to temperature. As it gets hot, it gets a little bit of pressure to it. It's not a pressurized system, but we'll see if there's any leaks at that point. So let me finish filling this up. Alright, so that's 2 full gallons, and it's covering the top of the fins of the radiator. Now you don't want to overflow this, otherwise that thermosiphon system isn't going to work. When the hot coolant comes to the top of the engine and goes through that neck into the radiator, it needs to be above the coolant level in the radiator so it can cascade off like a waterfall out of that outlet pipe into the radiator, cool and drop to the bottom and repeat. If that coolant level is higher than the outlet from the block into the radiator, it won't flow and it'll disrupt that system. So you don't want to overfill it. So being as I have coolant above the rims or the fins of the coolant or the radiator, I cannot talk today. I'm going to leave this for now. Like I said, eventually I'm going to run this, go up and down some hills, move it around, get the air out of the system, and we may need to add some more to it. But it's easier to add to it than take it out. You can see how much of a mess that makes. So 2 gallons so far. I knew book said 3.5. We'll probably add another half, maybe a gallon, but it's not going to take the full 3.5. Alright, that's it for the coolant. Let's get to the oil. Alright, next up is engine oil and filter. I had bought all this fluid and filters back a few months ago. I was looking at buying that John Deere 420 track loader, and I had bought all this stuff in preps to get it home and go through fluids, and I didn't end up buying it, as you know. So the Dubuque tractors are all the same parts, so it worked out that I had the parts for Sweaty Betty. So Napa oil filter 1148, that's on the other side. We'll get to that in a minute. We're gonna drain the oil pan. You probably saw I used the same pan. I cleaned it out now for the coolant, but I'm gonna use it for the oil too. It's nice and big, prevents splashes, and kind of lets the oil lay flat so I can kind of take a look at it. Being an engineer by trade, I like to look at the oil and see what's going on, make sure there's no little chunks or pieces of bearing or gears or anything like that. So the drain plug on this is a square headed bolt, so you could use a crescent or whatever, or even a 12-point socket. I'm just going to use this. It's a 5/8 wrench. The pan that I'm using I got from Home Depot. It holds 16 gallons, but it's in the concrete section. It's used for mixing up like concrete and stuff. So anyway, I think they're like 15 or 16 bucks. They're pretty cheap, and works pretty good for stuff like this. I got a couple of them. It's good for doing like differential fluids or hydraulic, where you've got lots and lots of gallons, not your typical 5-gallon drip pan, you know. So this oil has been in here for 6 years. I know that's terrible. I'm going against my own good judgment here, but it is what it is. I use this tractor like 3 times a year, but that's not an excuse. So I'm sure this is going to be nasty. I'll kind of hold this up here. Oh yeah, it's pretty sludgy. Definitely needed to be changed. Now if you look at my hand, you can see that it's not just oil. I smell some fuel in there too, which is a bit odd because this is an updraft carburetor. Interesting. So yeah, I do smell a hint of fuel in there, and maybe even a little coolant, which isn't good. I didn't see any oil in the coolant, which is a good sign that there's not an issue with the head gasket or a crack in the block. And typically you'd see that if you looked inside the radiator with the engine off. You'd see the oil float to the top because oil floats on water. But I didn't see anything in there, so who knows. You know, like I said, this oil has been in here for 6 years, so who knows what happened. You know, there was a short stint when I did sell Sweaty Betty to Farmer's Table in Newport News, Virginia, and they had it displayed out in the front. So who knows what happened then, what got put in here, what didn't. But anyway, it's all good. She's getting taken care of now. So, you know, I guess I could go through and flush a little oil through, but it's really not that bad. Actually, maybe it's just my hands that smell like fuel. I don't know. But I'm not going to worry about it because we're about to put the best oil she's had in here in a long time. So we'll monitor it and keep an eye on it. You know, I do check the oil level. Everything seemed fine. I didn't see anything suspect on there. Typically also, if you have water in your oil, it'll be more of a like milky color. So I don't think that's what it is. They may be a bit of fuel in there. And hell, that could have even been from when I put this thing together. You know, I took 2 engines completely apart and took the best parts out of both of those and combined it to make this. Like, if I ever take the valve cover off here and you see what these rocker arms and valves and lifters and stuff look like, it's terrible. I mean, I'm sure now that I've been using it and running it and it's got to temperature and kind of the oil's washed over, probably not too bad, but I honestly didn't even think the thing was going to run. And as it's turned out, it's one of the better running tractors I have. I am going to put a little bit of thread tape on this. I know I just screwed this in here, making more of a mess. I'm going to put a little bit of thread tape on here and we'll tighten her up. Alright, got a little thread tape here. Is it required? No. Do I need it? Probably not. But here I am just bragging about how this tractor has 0 leaks. And the last thing I want to do is change the oil and have a drip from the drain pan drain, or the oil pan drain plug. So we'll go ahead and snug this up. Doesn't have to be crazy. And again, same thing, I always wipe everything down really good so that when I start putting oil in it, I'll know if there's a drip there, it's new, and not from when I changed the oil. So, alright, drain pan's clean. Meet me over on the other side and we'll get this filter changed out. Come on, let's go, other side. Alright, so this is a little bit abnormal from your typical John Deere Dubuque tractor, as I've got this hydraulic hose that runs over and to the back. It's supposed to be a hard line from the hydraulic pump, which is right here. It's a engine crank gear driven hydraulic pump. It's a gear drive pump. It's got a hard suction line and a hard supply line to the Touch-O-Matic system in the back for raising and lowering the plow. But at some point, I guess, I want to say this is the, which one is this? Suction line, I think. Anyway, the pipe must have had a hole in it and someone replaced it with a hose. And I've never changed it because, well, it's part of what makes Sweaty Betty sweaty, you know? So anyway, so you probably won't see that on yours. This is the oil filter housing. On the back here is the oil pressure gauge, which, though the glass is broken, mine does work. So basically how this is going to work, there's a bolt that threads through to the bottom of this housing. We're going to remove that bolt, lift this cover off, the filter will be in there, it'll all drain down and make a huge mess, and we'll have a good day. Remember, when you get your new filter, this Napa 1148 comes with a new O-ring. This O-ring seals this bottom housing to the top cover, housing cover, whatever you want to call it. So make sure you have that gasket, because I guarantee you this one's going to be deformed. So we'll just loosen this up. This is a 1-inch bolt on the top. And we'll kind of get this apart. Now as this lifts up, it's not spring loaded, at least not that I remember. But you may start to see oil drain from here. That's just part of it. Now there is, let's try something. Let's try what the John Deere engineers wanted us to do. See if we can't keep from making a big mess. So on the bottom of this housing, there's another plug right here. I'm going from having a tractor that had 0 leaks to it's probably going to have 15 now that I'm done with it. But let's take this plug out, because this plug is intended to drain this housing so that it doesn't make a mess when we take the cover off. So let's see what happens. And nothing's coming out, a little bit. So either there's not much in the housing, doubtful, or that's plugged, which is most likely the culprit. So I'll get myself a little scribe here and we'll do a little exploratory excavation. No, it's not plugged. I can hear that. That's the oil filter in there. So yeah, it's cleaned out. There it goes, flowing a little better. We woke her up from her slumber. So that wasn't too bad. That makes a whole lot less of a mess. I guess they were smart in doing that. Bet you them international harvester tractors don't have that drain plug. I'm sure they do. Alright, I'll let this drip for a minute and we'll get this housing cover removed. Well, that's pretty much done draining. I cleaned up the plug and I put some more of this Teflon tape on here. It's pipe thread sealant. Depends who you talk to. Some people will tell you this isn't for sealing. Some people say it's for thread lubrication. I think it does a little of both, and that's why I use it, because it doesn't hurt. It can only help. Now, with that being said, this is one of those products where less is more. You put too much on here, it just gums up the threads and you can't get it into the proper torque, and eventually this stuff will possibly cause a leak. You do want to remove any excess, so if I wrapped on here and there was extra at the bottom, I always be sure to cut that off with my fingernail, because you don't want pieces of this going through whatever system it is that you're working on. Oil, obviously, in this case, but you know, fuel systems, hydraulic systems, you don't want that Teflon tape getting stuck in fuel injectors, screens and strainers, any of that kind of stuff. So, all right, not going to go too crazy on that. We'll get her cleaned up. Now, when I'm done changing this filter, I don't like to have the oily mess on here, so I'll spray everything down with some brake clean, get it back to the flat, dulling, boring, sweaty Betty that she is. All right, let's get this cover off here. I think it's pretty much can do by hand. Thread that out. We should be able to, there we go, pop it free. It is spring loaded. All right, now that it's off, we'll continue to spin it. I've got my awesome custom hydraulic line. Feel free to add one of these if you like. You can take your hard line off and put the hose. All right, so there we go. So here's the inlet of the house, or the inside of the housing. We'll go ahead and clean that out. Not too bad. Make sure everything is cleaned up in there. The mating surface for the O-ring goes on here. That's down at the bottom. We'll go ahead and pull that off first. Or not. Or there isn't one in here. Holy smokes. There is not one in here. I can't even believe that. Alright. Paper filter coming off. Now you can see on this filter there's pleats inside, and then it also has these holes, this paper section. Don't take that off. That stays on there. That's fine. So let's see if I use the same one. Oh, this is a Baldwin. Alright, so if you're a Baldwin guy, you want a Baldwin filter. Apparently my neighbors think I want to listen to their fucking music. Baldwin PT62. So a Baldwin PT62 or a Napa Gold 1148. Alright, filter's out. Kind of wipe this stuff down. Should probably use a lint-free rag instead of this old thing, but that's alright. That's just to make sure we don't have any sludge and gunk at the bottom. I can't believe there is not an O-ring in here. I mean, legit. Oh, maybe there is. Oh, there sure is. Holy smokes. I guess that's what 6 years will do. It's like petrified. Alright, well that's good. At least it's coming out. And of course, it snaps. I knew it. As soon as those words came out of my mouth, I said, oh, you spoke too soon. 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Make sure that makes a circle. Yep, we got it all. Alright, so there was one in there. Just very petrified and hard. Alright, we are good. So, you don't ever want to install an O-ring or a gasket dry, and it's alright. I'll dip it in some of this old oil. That's fine. Get it kind of wet. Stick it down in the groove. Now this gasket does have a square profile to it, meaning if you cut it and you look at it from the edge, it's square. So you want to make sure that goes in flat. It's not twisted. Get our new filter. Doesn't matter which way you want to put it in. It's the same both ways. It's going to sit on there. Get our cover. Now, here's the part that it's not hard, but you got to be a little bit mindful of. As you thread this down, you want to make sure that this housing sits in that groove and seals against that O-ring. So you just kind of do some wiggling. Shake it around. Figure out what side you want this where it looks the best. I don't know, it's sweaty Betty. Alright, that looks like it's pretty good there. We'll give some extra ooga doogas on the top with the wrench. We should be good to go. Now, if you go ahead and start this thing, we don't have to go crazy on this either, by the way. We'll get one more crank on there. If you start it and oil starts leaking from here, go ahead and tighten her down some more. That's what it's for. I don't think we're going to have any issues. If that other old O-ring sealed, I'm sure this one will too. Alright, so now while I still have the drip pan under, I'm going to do a quick with my brake cleaner. I like the CRC brake clean. And I'm going to go ahead and get this whole filter housing, let it drip into the pan. Get a clean section of my rag here. Wipe her down. Got to protect this glorious paint job Unsweaty Betty. Alright, all the oil and residue's off. A little extra air dry and she'll be as good as old. It's like scratching a dog behind the ear. Alright. Drain pan's been drained, plug reinstalled, filter changed, drain plug, and top cover, gasket, everything's good. We got to put some oil in, and I got a tip for that too. Alright, John Deere Dubuque tractor, fuel tank, oil fill cap. It's the one in the front, exhaust, air breather intake, radiator. Oil fill cap, remove it. I haven't put oil in it in a while. I'll be right back. Watch the paint. Alright, you know this one's oil fill because it says oil on it. Yeah, it's been on there for a hot minute. Alright, so the tip that I wanted to tell you about these Dubuque tractors is when you fill the oil down this tube, it goes right to this tube is part of the top of the valve cover, and inside that tube is a little baffle plate. And that baffle plate, best I know, is there so that as the oil's splashing around inside your valve cover, prevents it from coming up and putting oil out of this breather, because it does have a breather in there. Let's see if I can shine a light in. You can see there's some like moose hair in there. Anyway, you don't want oil coming out of this thing. So just picture the tube with like a flapper. Acts kind of like a check valve. Lets the oil down past, but not up through. That flapper can be adjusted depending on your situation, I guess. And I think this one, let me see. Oh boy, yeah. She's a little sludgy in there. This one's open a little more than half. Let me pull you off the tripod and we'll send you on a exploratory mission down here. It's gonna look a little funky, I ain't gonna lie. Don't get scared. It's a little gooey down there. But you can probably see that flap. And it opens towards your left side there. Anyway, it's possible that that flap can be a little too closed. And or even when it's at that angle. If you start pouring more oil down than what that flap is gonna let go by, you have a extremely high chance of blowing oil out and running all down inside the engine and the hood and making a huge mess. Ask me how I know. So just be mindful when you're putting oil in here that that little flapper's there. Now you could take a screwdriver and jam it down there and pry it open, which is fine. You can get full flow out of that thing. It's probably about 1.5 inch pipe. But then you run the chance of getting oil coming out. So I'm going to slowly fill this and try not to make a mess. Try being keyword. Now another tip I can give you is if you get a funnel that's big enough to kind of seal on there and you watch as you pour oil through, if it starts to come up to overflow this tube, instead of coming out here, it will remain inside your funnel. And just to be sure that that is the case, we can take a rag and wrap it around here so that in the event it does overflow, this rag will help keep it. Whoop! I might need that later. Keep the mess contained here. Oh, looks like a nice little Snoopy blanket. Charlie Brown Christmas tree. That way there it's not going down the funnel and over your valve cover and plug wires and making a huge mess in here. And try to contain the madness to right here, but I think we'll be alright. And as always, to each their own. I prefer to use the Shell Rotella T4 15W40 choice. It's Sweaty's favorite beverage. Now this oil, thing, I think it takes 4 or 4.5 quarts I guess I should look in the book before I pour this whole thing in. Let me see. This is a 1 gallon container. Let's see what the book says. And here's the lubrication chart. And if you look on here, crankcase, 5 quarts, includes oil filter. And the 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Likely I've got another quart. So we can safely bet that we can put this gallon of oil in, and I might have to add some more. So let's add this in first, and we'll just kind of go from there. I can see the oil coming up into the bottom of the filter, like I said. But it's controlled and managed. It's controlled chaos. That's what we like. What I don't like is the unexpected chaos. And that's what usually happens around here. But this seems to be going pretty good. So we'll add this gallon in, and then we'll check the oil level. Now mind you, just like your car, that oil level is going to go down a little bit when I start it, and the pump fills this filter housing back up. So like the coolant level, we're going to have to adapt and adjust as needed. But like I've always said, it's easier to add more than to have to take more out. And that's our gallon right there. This stuff ain't cheap. Back over here on the left side of the engine, here's where we drained the coolant from earlier in our carburetor, my fuel filter. Got this little bayonet here. That's our oil dipstick. So we'll go ahead and wipe that off. Make sure we're nice and clean. Insert it in. Let it sit for a second. Wave of the magic hand. Pull it out and see where we're at. And it is between, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, it is halfway between the add and the full. And that line, as you can see stamped in here, and with most other vehicles, wow, I really had that zoomed in and you weren't able to see it. Anyway, see if we can get this to focus. Where are you? Hello? I just got it zoomed out too much. Let me try this. Alright, so there we go. It was between the add and the full, and as you can see, it's stamped 1 quart. So it technically needs a half a quart still, but there's probably oil still draining down, so we're going to kind of hold off for right now. And what I'll do is I'll start the engine later. I'll let it run for a little bit, let that filter housing fill up. There goes my tripod. Anyway, we'll let that filter housing fill up, and we'll check the oil and top off as needed. I think the next thing we're going to do is transmission. I'm sure that's going to be a nasty milky mess. On to the transmission and differential. So on this tractor, the drain plug for it is on the, if you're sitting on the tractor looking forward, it's on the left hand side, and this is the drain plug for it. You could drain here too, but this is the right one for it. You can see the casting kind of goes down to a low point drain type area, and again, it's another square fitting, so I'm just gonna struggle around with this crescent wrench here and get it on there, and let's see if I can get her loose. There we go. Now I did change this fluid back again a few years ago when I got it, because this right hand final drive, the bull gear, was actually broken, and every time you'd revolve around, it would kind of lock up and bump and drop, and it was just crazy. So Richard from Richard Brown's, they used to have a tractor parts company. They're out of business now, unfortunately. They were the best tractor people around, but I got this whole new left final drive from him shipped to my house for like 300 bucks. So it's hard to find deals like that nowadays. Anyway, all right, I've got this loose. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna assume this is gonna be pretty milky because it's been 6 years, and pretty much any tractor transmission and differential from sitting naturally gonna have condensation. It sits outside. I do have a good rubber boot on the shifter, but that doesn't mean anything. All right, here we go. That's actually not too bad. Wow. That's actually not bad at all. I was expecting there to be quite a bit of condensation and water in there, but there isn't. So, but it's good to get it cleaned out and changed, flush it around. That's actually not bad for 6 years being in there. Of course, it doesn't get a whole lot of use, but it does sit outside. All right, we're gonna let this drain, and I'm gonna put some Teflon tape on the drain plug, get it put back in. We'll go on the other side and show you how to fill it. There's no filter for this, just fluid. That's it, real easy. And we're back over on the right hand side of the tractor. So here's our gear shifter, the seat's up here, my brake pedals, and where your foot goes is your fill area. Now this also has a square plug, but it's very awkward trying to get in there with a crescent wrench. So I've got a 3/4 inch 12-point socket that fits on there just fine. This isn't ever on there very tight anyway. Go ahead and pull that off. And we'll go ahead and clean that up, and I'll put some Teflon on there as well. Voila, there we go. We'll set that off to the side. And I'm gonna go get the gear oil for here while you admire the algae and moss and natural patina of Sweaty Betty's beauty. And I'm back. So the book calls for 90 weight. I've got some 85 140, which I think is gonna be just fine. So these are kind of a pain. If you've ever worked with these, you know, you take this cover off, get the little safety seal, put this back on, and then have to get a pair of clippers and cut the end of that. And then basically we're just gonna stick it in there real quick and squeeze it out and get this filled up. So this is full when it starts to come out of here. I have the oil pan underneath, so we're ready to catch it. It says it takes 7.5 quarts, but I've found that this seems to be way low. I want to say it's like 4, but we'll count and figure it out. Let me get this opened up and we'll start filling. Not even gonna mess with that top. I got a funnel in there. We're just gonna pour it in like this. This is number 1. Like I said, I don't think it takes 7.5. If I remember correctly, every time I do this, it ends up being considerably less because I'm like doing silly stuff like this here, where I fill the whole funnel up and then it starts draining out of here and I gotta deal with this. So I don't know why I do this stuff to myself. Bottle number 2, bottle number 3, bottle number 4, bottle number 5. Well, here's bottle number 6, or quart number 6. This thing's gonna make me a liar today. I think the 6 might do it. It's about done draining out of the funnel, and it's about to come out the top here. Just draining the funnel out there. Oh yeah, and it's right there. You can see it right at the top. So 6 quarts is what it took. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, you can see it's right there at the top. And we just put our cap back in and good to go for another 6 years. Just kidding. Alright, here's another one that gets neglected. So if you look in here at the fan, it's kind of hard to see. There's a, I'll try to put an arrow in the video. There's a flat-headed slot screw head right there. We're going to remove that and then use this oil can here to squirt oil in there. And basically you put oil in and then you'll rotate the fan back around until that hole is at the bottom, and you want to put a rag in there or something. It's going to drain out any excess oil. If it doesn't drain any oil, then you need to roll it back and pump some more in there. But that's going to oil those fan bearings. I've never done that before, so this is going to be a first for me. I'll video it. I don't know if you're really going to be able to see all that's going on. I did get a screwdriver in there and I cheated. I was able to break it free, so that's good. So I'll put some oil in and rotate it and see what happens, and I'll let you know how it goes. So I'm going to assume, with my luck, I'm going to loosen this bolt here, or nut. So it's a bolt. And it's going to drop, and I'm not going to be able to find it. I don't want to do that. So instead of shining a flashlight, see if I can't get my hand in here to feel where it is and try to catch it. I don't know how I'll get it started again. Oh, you know what? I have a cool tool to show y'all. In fact, before I take that out all the way, I'm going to show you what it is. Alright, I got you turned out of the sun here. So this is the tool I'm talking about. And on the end of it, I'll see if I can't zoom in so you can see. It's got like 2 prongs, and this middle section spins. It's spring loaded, so when I turn it like this, it's lined up flat, and when I let go, it snaps. I hope this is coming into view. But anyway, basically there's 2 prongs, and in the middle is the 3rd prong, and it's at an angle. And it's spring loaded, so you twist it so that the 3 line up, and that fits into the slot of your screw. And when you click this, that middle one twists at an angle and kind of locks it in. Let me get this screw out and I'll show you. Alright, here we are again. So basically, I'll turn this and pull it up, and it locks those in a straight line. And then you insert that straight line into your screw head and you push. And you hear it lock, and now it holds your screw so that you can thread it in, thread it out, and it just holds the screw. It's on there pretty good too. So yeah, this thing just rotates. It's not quite a 90 degree. You can kind of see that. It's just pretty cool. So yeah, pull or rotate, pull up, insert it into your head and push. You hear it click and it holds it in place. I got this one on Amazon. Some of the guys at work had them for getting into like electrical panels and stuff where you don't want to drop the screws. They work pretty good. Anyway, I was able to get this out, so now I'm going to oil it. Alright, I got about 20 squirts of oil in there. I'm going to shove this paper towel kind of in the void where the fan's going to turn, and I'll roll this over if I can. Get my flashlight. I know you're not going to be able to see this. I'll move the camera. Oh, there we go. Alright, so now I've rolled, hopefully this paper towel's catching it. It's probably not, because why would it? And now I'll have a leak in my driveway. Anyway, let's get you in here. So when you roll it to the bottom, you can see it's going to drain. There we go. It's going to drain the excess oil out. So I know it's full and it's at the level it's supposed to be. So I'll roll this back up. Ignition off, of course. And I can put the screw back in. Here it is, locked on my little handy dandy tool. Let's see if this works. It's in the hole. There we go. I got it started. It popped off, but I got it started. Finished with a regular screwdriver. So yeah, basically take that bolt out. I ended up doing 20 squirts with my oil squirter. And then I rolled it down, and I probably got about a teaspoon out, so probably only needs about 10, I guess. But I guarantee it was empty because I've never done that before. Alright, I'm going to get a clean rag and wipe that up better, and then we'll move to the back of the tractor. Alright, here we are at the back of the tractor. I do have the belt pulley on my MT, and there is provisions here for draining and filling the belt pulley housing. I don't use this belt pulley. I don't know what's in there or if there is even oil or not. And I really could care less because I don't ever use this. So I'm not even going to mess with that, but if you did want to change that, there is a drain plug and a fill plug. But I do need to change the oil in both the final drives. I still have my plow attached. It's in the raised position right now, and just for safety reasons, we want to drop it down because I'd rather it drop on the floor than on me or you. Alright, in this section we're going to do the final drives. As you can see down here, now there is some oil down here. It is a bit wet, although nothing drips on my driveway. But this is the drain for the final drive housing, and this is the fill for the final drive housing. And there's my light falling off where I had it so you can see what I'm looking at. So supposedly these hold 2 quarts. So again, we're going to drain this out, Teflon the plug, open the fill, clean it, Teflon the plug, and put the said 2 quarts. It should fill it up to here. So there is a gasket between this final drive like bottom cover and the housing, and that gasket's probably what's leaking. But like I said, it's not enough to drain onto the driveway. So while I'm here yapping, I might as well start loosening this up so you can see what we got going on here. And it's another square plug, so I'm just going to use the old crescent wrench here. See if we can't get it off without stripping it or breaking it. That might not be the case today. Let's see, because it's definitely not worth me breaking. I don't need to change the oil on this thing that bad. Let's see, tighten it up a bit. Alright, let's try that. Kind of in an awkward position here. Oh, I'm tightening it, that's why. Lefty-loosey, Steve. Lefty-loosey. There we go. Alright, turn it this way here. There we go. And this is straight gear oil, so this should smell delicious. Hopefully there's some in there. Oh yeah. Oh, there's the smell already. That hit me pretty quick. Get that drained out and filled up here. It looks pretty good. It's got a nice amber glow to it. No chunkies, no metal, no water. That's good. Let me get this cap cleaned up. Finished letting it drain. I got the drain plug threads covered with some Teflon and reinstalled that. I've removed the fill plug. Got some new Teflon on there from when I'm done. And got some more gear oil that's basically just going to get fed in there like a bottle. And we're going to squeeze it and get that final drive filled up. It says it takes 2 quarts. That's the bottle, not me, I promise. Maybe that was me that time. No, I'm just kidding. So we're gonna, come on, how old are we here? All right, that's close enough. All right, so there's 1 quart. And we're gonna fill this until it starts coming out of that hole. Goes quart number 2. And it says that if it doesn't start coming out after the 2 quarts, keep on adding, baby. There we go again. Let's see if I can shine my flashlight in there. See how much is left. Oh, it's right there. It's literally like just under this casting. I'm gonna leave it there because for that additional little bit, it's just not worth it to me to have to clean up the mess. So throw this back in. Now I know the oil has been changed in that left one because, like I said, I'm new to this tractor final drive that I got from Richard Brown years ago, and so I know that got done. I don't know as though I did this one at the time. You'd think I would have, and maybe I did. The oil looked pretty good. Anyway, that's it. Snug as a bug in a rug. So that's our final drive. So I'm going to go ahead and drain and fill the other side as well, and that's it for these. Alright, the last thing we're going to check today is the hydraulic oil level. I know the lighting's kind of crazy in here, but basically this is your hydraulic sump. You can see this is a hard line coming in. I guess that's the suction, and the return is the one that's the hose for the front. Anyway, this little plug at the bottom, that's your drain plug if you want to drain this out to change it. This little fitting here is what you will open up to check the level, and basically when you open that, if the level is correct, oil should flow out, and it's not, so I gotta add some. So I'm gonna put this rag here so when the oil does flow out, it doesn't make a huge mess. And I'll take you to the front and show you where we fill it from. Alright, so I already got this cover off. This is the vent for that sump, and it threads in right here at the back of the hydraulic control valve. So we take that out. I'd already had it loosened up, and might be able to see. Let me take this off the tripod real quick and get my flashlight. I'll show you down inside there. You can see all the linkages for these levers. That's those rods that you're seeing right there. But you can see the fluid is kind of milky looking. That means it's probably got some fluid in it. I mean water, condensation. But it is what it is, because I don't have any of that to fill today. So I'm going to add to the front there, and you should see it start leaking out the back here when it's full. And that's going to be it for fluid changes today. There is a gearbox here up in the front for the steering. I'm not going to mess with that. You can see it's kind of wet around there, so it probably does have some leaks. I know every once in a while on super hot days in the summer, I can see some oil will drip on top of the tire, so I'm just assuming that little metal sump on that steering pedestal, the oil expands and drips and leaks, but whatever. I do have new fuel lines on here, new fuel filter, so we should be good. My battery's new. I keep it on the tender. One thing that I don't do that you're supposed to is this is your oil, I'm sorry, well it is oil, it's an oil bath air filter. Shoot, I don't have this thing zoomed out. You've probably been looking at my eyeballs. Anyway, this little key here, you loosen this up and this bottom cover comes off. You can see it says oil and it's got a line. There's supposed to be oil on the bottom of this, I don't know, can or bowl, I guess. So basically when the engine's running, the air goes up through these holes and this little mushroom that keeps the water from going down in there. But your air gets drawn in, it goes down this tube, and it goes into the oil. The engine pulls the air through the oil, and then obviously the oil is heavier than the air, so it stays in there, and the clean air comes out and into your carburetor. So basically the vacuum from your piston pulling down on that intake stroke pulls air through the oil in the bottom of the bowl. Now, you may have been born in the 70s, or you know, participate in recreational activities in which you may draw hot air through a liquid water cool substance to cool the hot air, again for recreational activities. And this works pretty much the same way, but instead of cooling the hot air, it removes dirt, debris, and dust from the air for your combustion cycle. So bong, bong, I said bong, bong. Anyway, so that's how that works. So yeah, I think we're ready. Sweaty Betty's ready. I'm ready for plow day coming up. Like I said, as you're watching this live for the first time, I believe it's Saturday, March 21st, 2026. You'll pay for the host seat, but only sit on the edge. As you're watching this video, I will be up on the Eastern Shore, plowing with Sweaty Betty for the first plow day for me of 2026. So you know what that means. Next weekend, you're going to see the plow day. And this will be my second year going to the Peninsula Tractor Organization Plow Day. And they're a great group of people, lots of fun. There's a volunteer fire department up there that cooks lunch for everybody. Good camaraderie. I don't know why I keep walking around this tractor, but anyway, yeah, it's going to be a great plow day. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully if you have a M, MT, or MC, or really any of the Dubuque tractors, so the 40, 420, 430, they're all the same. So hopefully this helps you with your periodic maintenance that I've neglected for 6 years. Don't do that. Yeah, that's it. I love this tractor. This tractor is a family heirloom. It will be with us forever. So maybe one day my kids will need to look back at this video to see how to do this stuff. But anyway, that's it. Got Sweaty Betty ready. We'll see you in the next one.